joining us on Zoom. Welcome to those who are joining us on Facebook Live. A reminder that if you are watching us on Zoom,
Hi.
then you can, reminder that if you're joining us on Zoom, then you can stay for our after party, which will be just on Zoom. And we get to chat a little bit and see how everyone's doing. So welcome to our third episode of Mezoomin, Me Zoom In. A reminder to everyone that Mezoomin has a double entendre, two meanings. So me zoom in. And it's also a reminder that Mezoomin, a Mezoomin is a group of three men or women who join together for benching, and they say Rabotai Nivarech. And so we say, Rabbi Wahlberg, myself, and Rabbi Yogev, we say Rabotai Nidaber, we will talk. And yes, I see the comments are already blowing up and coming in. Absolutely. We played, it was a long day for all of us. Rabbi Wahlberg, you must be tired. I know we played golf, we went fishing, and I think we walked on the boardwalk in Ocean City also. How you doing, Rabbi?
Baruch Hashem. I mean, I can learn to live like this for a little bit longer. The only thing that I'm really getting tired of is this Zoom shtick. Somebody sent me this, the new Yiddish word, ausgezoomt. Overexposed to fatigued by, exhausted from, bored by, had it with Zoom. Ich bin azoi ausgezoomt. I'm so done with Zoom. If I have to see Barbie K's face one more time, that's just going to do it for me. Then I'll know it's time for retirement. But it's really good seeing all of you. I wish we could see all of you in person. And hang in, we will.
This is the most I've seen him in shul in a while.
Yeah, this Barbie K is really from.
Rabbi Yogev, how are you?
I'm well, feeling good over here. Enjoying the different spiritual opportunities that this time's offering. Trying to take advantage of it. Just some writing, some singing, connecting with people in ways that we don't usually connect. So I've been feeling fulfilled. I mean, sad that people are suffering around the world, for sure. But trying to stay plugged in and feeling uplifted from that.
Yeah, I'm seeing like a difference in, it's like we're turning a corner. I don't mean it necessarily in a good way or a bad way, but as this drags on, you're getting feel like hearing from people like, I was okay until now, but like enough already, you know, like now we know how to call that in Yiddish, right?
I think what also contributes to it is that you see like online that different areas are in different stages. So I have friends in Israel who a friend of mine's going surfing on the beach now because they opened up the beach for that purpose, and other friend of mine's kids are in school. So it's also kind of reflects to you where you are in your stage of the.
I think the greatest challenge for most people is the unknown, not knowing when this is going to be over with. When can we go back to work? When can we go back to shul? When can we hug the grandchildren? If you tell me a week, I can handle it. If you tell me a month, I can handle it. But you're not telling me anything. And there's no way of knowing. And dealing with the great unknown is very challenging for most people, myself included. I'm a pretty structured kind of person. My schedule I sort of have in my head. I'm very exacting with. And here I don't know what to expect from day to day. How can we prepare for the high holidays when we have absolutely no idea what things are going to be like? I don't know whether to write a long sermon or a short one. I mean, this is a challenge.
This is a good time to open up our polling on Zoom. Who wants Rabbi Wahlberg to write a short sermon?
I was going to ask you. How long is your short sermon, Rabbi Wahlberg? For us, it's done.
I haven't actually written it, but it's in my head. If I sat down, this is what I always do my sermons on. I dictate them into this tape recorder and then send it to Arlene. If I had to, you give me 2 hours now, and I could dictate my Rosh Hashanah sermon. I could also do that with my Kol Nidre sermon. Yom Kippur would take a little bit more bringing it all together.
Well, hey, if we're not back in shul and you have to give a Zoom sermon before Rosh Hashanah, you can just get a picture of yourself, put it there, press play on that recorder, and you're all set.
No. What I've done is I have a Reform temple that's going to pay me to deliver my sermon on the holidays live, so don't worry about it.
Well, listen, people want to know. What to expect. That's why they come here to Mezoomin. By the end of this episode, we'll answer all your questions. Anything you're wondering, we will give you an answer. It may not be the right answer, but we'll give you an answer.
We're also watching you on Facebook Live. We're with you, and we're going to try to address questions and comments there too.
All right, Rabbi Yogev, what's our trivia question today?
Okay, our trivia question for today. We're getting fancy. We might be able to project this on the screen.
Rabbi Yogev loves this stuff. I mean, he's a 21st century rabbi. Unbelievable.
Truth be told, I spent hours upon hours playing video games as a kid, paying off in some way. Okay, so we're not going to project it, but we're going to project it to you vocally. Here's the question. Our Parsha talks about the holidays, Parshat Emor, among other things. All right, here's the question. Apart from Shabbos, how many days are there during the year about which the Torah says that work is forbidden? Okay, so think it through. Oh, you don't want to see that one. So how many days are there during the year about which the Torah says work is forbidden? The answer is between 5 and 12. Feel free to put your answer between 5 and 12 in the comment section on Facebook Live or on Zoom. You'll get your answer toward the end of the show, right around the time we're going to present you some really amazing guests. We also have a meme of the week. Can we bring that up? Okay, there's our meme of the week, everybody. This is self-explanatory. I think this was a little bit funnier at the beginning of this time, but I think it's still funny. Some things are more important to us now than they ever were. That's all I got to say on that.
This is very, very true. So everyone can put their attempted answers in. What are the numbers between again?
On Facebook Live, we have 9, 5, between 5 and 12. 5 and 12.
Other days that work is forbidden. All right, so speaking about holidays, it's not a holiday that work is forbidden, but it is a holiday that is coming up. And we actually are going to be having a special concert for this holiday. It's Lag BaOmer. We have a concert, a Lag BaOmer concert that's going to be coming up. And in fact, our special guests for today, which we'll get to later in the show, will be joining us for that concert. So that's going to be exciting. We'll be hearing from them from Israel, which is pretty awesome. We have Yonina coming in. You'll hear a little bit more about them a little bit later. So we've got a Lag BaOmer concert, but here's the problem. Some people have heard of Lag BaOmer. Fewer people than that know what Lag BaOmer is. And so I wanted Rabbi Yogev to tell us, what is this holiday with the fires and the marshmallows and the bows and arrows? What the heck is this Lag BaOmer holiday all about?
Yeah, so when I have to explain this in the Hebrew school, it's very confusing to explain it because it's not like Rosh Hashanah, Yom Adin, the Day of Judgment. Every holiday has its own theme. It's kind of hard to explain Lag BaOmer. It doesn't appear in the Torah. It appears later in the 12th century and a little bit later in our tradition. The basic idea is the students of Rabbi Akiva died between the first of the Omer till the 33rd of the Omer. And they stopped dying, according to tradition, on the 33rd of the Omer, so it's a day of celebration. Our mourning practices are suspended on that day, and therefore it's a day of celebration. Now, two other aspects were connected to it over time. Mystically, it's connected to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. You probably for sure have heard that. It's not clear if he died on this day or if he received smicha, if he became a rabbi on this day. Maybe it's the same thing sometimes. I don't know, but it's not clear exactly. But it's a special day in terms of.
That was a good joke.
Good
I know,
one,
that
That was a
Eli.
good one.
It's hard to tell if
Wow.
anybody laughed. I was looking around.
Oh, you know what? We're gonna go off script here. Rabbi Wahlberg's gonna. It's all about timing.
No, I'm telling you, yoga is learning the tricks of the trade faster. I'm not threatened. You should be Posner.
So going back really quick. So another thing that was connected to the holiday in Eretz Yisrael in recent century was they connected it to Bar Kochva. So you have three players here. You have Rabbi Akiva and his students. That's one approach. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, it's a mystical approach. You have a Zionist approach, which basically says that this was the day when Bar Kochva won a big revolt against the Romans. And so each person takes it in a different way. But in Israel, it's predominantly celebrated as a mystical holiday. And the main custom, the main act that people are involved in is going up to the mountain of Meron. If you go on YouTube, if you don't know about this, you should check it out because it's a huge Jewish phenomenon. 600,000 people made a pilgrimage to this mountain where Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is supposed to be buried. They made a pilgrimage to it last year, and every year it's a huge event. Check it out on YouTube. Just go Meron Lag BaOmer. It's something good to know just as a Jew. And there's fire involved with this holiday because Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai revealed the Torah, the mystical texts, which are considered fire. And that's kind of like, there's a different directions it goes. And also there's a connection to bows and arrows, connected to the revolt of Bar Kochba, or perhaps connected to the fact that there was not a rainbow that could be seen in the time of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And that means that God, the world found favor in God's eyes because Rabbi Shimon was alive, because they say a rainbow will appear when God was averting like a decree on the nation.
Wow. Okay. So by the way,
The bow is the shape of the rainbow. That's where
Exactly.
that connection is.
nobody mentioned that tonight is a holiday also, by the way. And I was hinting to you all at it, right over my left shoulder. Can you see it? You make out what that is?
Yeah, sure.
Rabbi Posner.
We see it. It looks great.
Let me ask you something, Rabbi Posner. Look if you can tell me where that was made. Look if it tells you where that's made. Okay, while Rabbi Posner is looking for that, I want to mention something to you. I buy a tremendous amount of shmura matzahs before Pesach. I give out some to friends, to congregants, and within the family, we only eat shmura matzah during Pesach. Well, I have about 12 pounds of shmura matzah left. Sherry said I can't have bread until I finish the shmura matzah, so I'm still eating it. Some people eat matzah tonight for the reason that Rabbi Posner held up the box, because what's tonight, Rabbi Posner?
Tonight is a special Ukrainian holiday, I found out.
Now, why did I ask where that matzah was made? It's made in the Ukraine. Whenever we think of bad news about the Jewish people, just think of this. In the 70s, 80s, 90s, we rallied for Soviet Jewry. We used to smuggle in matzah to the Soviet Union so that Soviet Jews would have matzah. And now we're living in a day and age when the Jews in the Ukraine are selling us matzah. You never know from one day to the next.
That's pretty cool.
Isn't that something?
Pretty cool.
I had that was going to be in my Pesach sermon this year, but it got canceled. But if you missed Pesach, you have an opportunity tonight. Tell them, Rabbi Posner.
It's Pesach Sheni tonight, everyone. Pesach Sheni is an incredible story. You know, the founder, actually, he's actually friendly with our Chazan, the founder of Hatzalah United. His name is Eli Beer. he had gotten very, very sick. I think it was in Florida, from COVID. And he was in the hospital for about 3 weeks. He was unconscious. He was on a ventilator. And he came out. He made it back to Israel. And they showed him he decided to have a Seder tonight to, make up for the Seder that he missed at the beginning of Pesach. There was actually some interesting talk about that this year, because some people wanted to suggest that since people were in quarantine and couldn't be together for Sidarim, maybe Pesach Sheni should be different. Pesach Sheni really is only there for the sacrifice, for the Korban, which we don't have. And it wouldn't have made a difference anyways, I suppose, because here we are on Pesach Sheni. Hard to believe. Now, Rabbi Wahlberg, you mentioned that you only eat shmur matzah for all of Pesach. Is that where does that minhag come from?
I'm following my father's minhag. On Pesach, he only ate shmur matzah. It was very exacting in Pesach, but specifically in terms of shmur matzah, I think that goes back to his Hasidic roots. We speak a lot about Hasidim. We don't really fully understand what Hasidim are. Are they part of the ultra-Orthodox community? Are they own separate community? But Hasidim is really a way of life. In the 1600s, what the Jews experienced during the 1600s had to break their backs and break their hearts. They had the Khmelnytsky massacres. Tens of thousands of Jews were killed. And then they prayed for Mashiach to come. And lo and behold, Shabtai Tzvi came on the scene. And Jews felt that he was the Mashiach. The Amsterdam flower market crashed because all the Jews sold their holdings. They were ready to go to Israel because the Mashiach had come. And then they discovered he was a false Messiah, and it was a second crushing blow. And the Jews, in the depth of despair, developed a new way of life. It started with the Baal Shem Tov in the 1700s, a new attitude within the framework of Judaism, but a whole different way of life, stressing joy over sorrow, stressing prayer over learning, optimism over pessimism, and mysticism over rational thinking. And much of our thinking to this very day is still affected by that Hasidic mystical concept in Judaism. Now you know Hasidim by a different way of dress, but they are ultra-Orthodox, but they have their own ways, and every Chassid is a little bit different. They follow their own specific Rebbe. My father happened to grow up in Hungary and was part of the Satmar Hasidim, which is the most extreme right-wing anti-Zionist group. I have this picture over here. When my father came to America, this is a picture of him with his two brothers. They were Hasidic boys, with payas and the black hats and everything. And that Hasidic style, so to speak, remained a part of him all of his life. He used to go, I remember him taking me to visit with the Hasidic Rebbe. When he came to America, my uncle Matcha made him snip off his payas. My father wouldn't go out for a week because he said he felt naked not having his payas on. And so that became part of a tradition. Even though we weren't a Hasidic family, Hasidic traditions still remain part of it. I'm still looking for this picture. Here it is. Here is a picture, I don't know if this can come in or not, of my father and his two brothers.
Which one's your father?
My father is this one.
The middle?
No.
The right, the left?
The one, it seems to be the tallest one. The middle one was Cantor Max Wahlberg, who is a very well-known conservative cantor, and the father of my cousin Jeffrey Wahlberg, who is who is the rabbi of Addis Israel in Washington, and this one is Uncle Joe, who was a great handball player.
Is that a Duchamp Streimel?
No. Because I thought we might be discussing Hasidim. You people don't really know me. You know me in public as this modern Orthodox rabbi, but in private, I still live the Hasidic lifestyle. This is the me that Sherry knows.
That explains so much. Wow.
That explains the Shmura Matzah as well.
That explains Shmura Matzah. So it happens to be that we thought this would be a great episode to have a bit of a discussion about Hasidim and Hasidism and Hasidus, because there is a link into Lag BaOmer. I mean, that whole mystical tradition that really has been picked up by the Hasidim. And, when Rabbi Wahlberg started speaking and said, this was choosing joy over sorrow and optimism, and I wonder if people were sitting there saying, what are you talking about? That's not like what we know of like Hasidus. What do we know about Hasidim? Well, we know about Hasidim like they're portrayed on some of these shows, like they're portrayed on Shtisl or portrayed on Unorthodox, or actually the truth is Shtisl, in my opinion, did a fairly accurate job, I should say, of portraying Hasidim in a way that oftentimes they're not portrayed in that way in movies. What's that?
Hasdei
Hashem. They're oftentimes not portrayed that way. It gave us a little bit of nuance, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But there is a lot, like Rabbi Wahlberg said, of Chassidut that actually really is part of a lot of what we do. The reality is that...
The singing and dancing in shul. Start with that. That's completely coming from a Hasidic background. And now the idea that people, don't cut their child's hair until he's 3 years old. So many things that have become part of our tradition, even though we're not Hasidim, does have its roots in the Hasidic mystical trend.
Now, Beth Tefillah has some, because of Rabbi Rosenblatt, who was a Yeki, has more of like a Litvish customs in a lot of ways. But the reality is, you looked at our shul, we're like a modern Hasidic shtibel.
Yeah, somebody once told me that we are the only non-Chabad house.
No.
That's cute.
Rabbi Yogev, what do you think? You know this community from the inside.
True, it's true. It's interesting. Those two shows, Shtisl and Unorthodox, they both portrayed journeys. In Shtisl, Yankee, he was figuring out who he was as a painter and trying to explore different avenues. In the other show,
wait, his name was Kiva.
Kiva, yeah.
Oh, you can't get Michael Aloni's name wrong.
Kiva, yeah.
That's terrible. They'll throw you off.
True.
You must have gotten confused because there's like 5 Israeli actors and they're in every single show.
I have Sauda. I'm trying to work through those names in my head now too. But and you have Esty from the other show where she's going through like a certain journey too, in a different direction, but similar. For me, it was the opposite. So like I grew up not so observant, and I moved to find myself into the religious circles, very deep into the religious circles. At a certain time when I was living in Israel, I lived in Bnei Brak. If anybody knows, that's like an ultra-Orthodox community. I lived among Hasidim. Like at 5:30 in the morning, everybody was up. They were going to the mikveh, the men. They were going to davening at that time. I lived in that community. I have very good memories from that time. They're very, very tight-knit families. They're very devoted to what they're doing. There's a lot of beauty in that community. And I think, like what you said, I think Shtisl did a good job in portraying that. I think Unorthodox did a bad job in portraying that. But each show had its own story. But there's a lot of beauty in that community. I think they get a bad rap from people who don't understand them or know them from the outside.
Yeah, and usually when that's what struck me about Shtisl. Rachel and I, stumbled upon that show before people were talking about it. That's right, folks. We're trendsetters. We stumbled upon that show before people were talking about it. We decided to just give it a shot, figuring it's good. I can't tell you how many portrayals of Hasidim movies and TV shows I've started and watched for like 10, 15 minutes that said, this is so silly. It's not accurate. It's sort of voyeuristic. And Shtisl, I was like blown away by, like, wow, first of all, this is really good. I was like, I thought these must have all been like former Hasidim. They looked so accurate. The mannerisms, the way they walked, the accents were just so spot on. I was sure that they must really be, former Hasidim.
I didn't see as much smoking though in those communities though as in the show. There's so much smoking.
I want to tell you something. I'm fascinated by what you're saying because I had the completely opposite reaction. I could never get into Shtisl. I watched 2 or 3 and I can't tell you why. It just didn't grab me. Unorthodox, I found deeply, deeply moving. Now, I think it's important for people to understand she was leaving a community that for people like her, and there is a percentage like her, just could never be comfortable in. And I would imagine if I was growing up in that, I would be that kind of a person. But most Jews living that lifestyle are finding it extremely meaningful and enriching. So who's for me to judge them? But Unorthodox, first of all, I thought the actress was just absolutely incredible. And I just thought the whole story was done extremely well. But Fauda, oh my God, I can't sleep at night after that's the only show I can think of that I've binge watched.
By the way, you know that that Esti in Unorthodox, they stole her from Shtisl. She was Ruchami in
Right.
Shtisl.
Yeah.
I'll tell you,
She's awesome.
Unorthodox, I found it just too, I thought it lacked nuance that Shtisl had. I thought that they did a decent job. Again, I would say better than other TV shows or movies that like from the past, but it was just too simplistic. The rabbi who they went to for advice was such an incredible fool. They had just the one, what was he, a cousin or whatever who had gone out before, and he was like such a buffoon with just like, there was like nuance. And what they tried with that nuance, you talk about cutting off the payas. They had like that powerful scene. It was, I found it just completely ridiculous. That was me. About Shtisl, what I loved was like all along, you can't decide if you can't stand the father or you love the guy. Because the guy had such a sweetheart, but he was stuck in certain traditions that he thought he had to uphold, and he just didn't know any other way. But he really loved his son. And I just love that there was nuance to that, because I think that when we talk about Hasidim and the Hasidic community, it's usually not talked about in a nuanced way. People don't realize there are all kinds of Hasidim. People don't realize there are Hasidim who vehemently disagree with other Hasidim so much that they agree more with us than they do with their other Hasidim. People don't realize that there are Hasidim who are pretty Zionistic, and there are people who are so anti-Zionistic. People don't realize in the clothing that they wear and the customs that they keep, there's so much nuance to it. But for me, most importantly, was the fact that it did come across in both Shtisl and Unorthodox. You saw these are just people, because they are just people. And yes, they may have some different traditions, but they're just people. And we really lose sight of that.
Well, we're discussing insignificant things. Significant is the ending of Homeland. Wow. That was unbelievable. But we'll discuss that some other time. Somebody put into the chat room, did anybody watch When Heroes Fly? I watched it. I really enjoyed it. It's a bit of a stretch of the imagination, but this was good escapist fun.
I think Kiva was in there too, right?
What's that?
Kiva was in there too, When Heroes Fly.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
he is the bridge between Shtisl and Fauda.
Okay.
I think he's also the host of The Voice in Israel.
Yes. That's why I said they have like 5 actors, and they do. You know,
Like
I'm going to
rotating.
tell you I don't have pictures, but much of the Torah that I find most inspiring that I go to are Sfarim that are Hasidic, written by Hasidic Rebbes.
I thought you were going to say it's from Shtisl, most of the Torah.
It's from Shtisl. The Sfat Emet, the Sfat Emes, I love the Torah that comes from them. And it's interesting because every now and then I'll come across something that I say, wow, like I do not agree with that. That makes me sad.
That's what the difference between me and you. And the book that moves me is the Trump coloring book.
Why do you have that at your spot there?
Do you just bought it? No. This is fascinating stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, that was my feeling on the shows. I really I appreciate that people could maybe learn a bit of nuance. And by the way, we haven't even touched, I guess, the most famous Hasidic group, which is Chabad, which is Lubavitch. They are Hasidim as well. A different type of Hasidic group than other Hasidic groups.
Yeah, when it says not to group them all together, Chabad Hasidim and Satmar Hasidim would love to kill each other. And Satmar Hasidim are divided by 2 different rabbis who are 2 brothers. And so there are 2 Satmar Rebbes and there are 2 Bubba Rebbes. I mean, you want to hear an interesting story? This is also going to be someday in a sermon. The 2 Satmar Rebbes are brothers. They split 20 years ago and opened up their own Satmar Hasidic dynasties. And they've never spoken to each other since, until 2 weeks ago, when one's wife and one of the other ones had the coronavirus. Just think, we needed the coronavirus to bring 2 Hasidic brothers together again. Wow.
So, wow.
Here's the thing about Chabad. This Chabad, I think it needs to be named that Chabad is doing things that nobody's doing in any, like, not even close. Like, their outreach is like times 20, 30 than any other group. Perhaps there's different reasons behind it, but that just needs to be named and recognized. It's pretty awesome what they're doing. Anywhere you go, you could find a Chabad anywhere. It's just amazing.
It's not only that, it's the way they do it. Sometimes when my brother Jerry gets our flyers or brochures and everything, he says to me, wow, this is done exceptionally well. You're almost as good as Chabad. Yeah, a Hasidic group that's very 21st century in their approach and very effective.
You know what? So, I mean, Rabbi Yogav, you said many different possible reasons. First of all, there's one reason. It was the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I mean, he had this incredible vision, which he undertook, but also something that I really respect about Chabad is they really just don't care all that much what other people say about them. There are people who slam them and, or make fun of them about this or that. They know they believe in what they're doing and they just do it. And I think that can be like a real lesson for us. Like, who did Lubavitcher Rebbe envision what it's come to today? Like how broad, how far reaching, I don't know. But he had a good idea and he said, I'm just doing this. We're going to send people out. Yeah. So we have mentioned Lag BaOmer earlier. We mentioned singing and music, and we wished at this Lag BaOmer we could join together in person, but we can't. But we do have a concert that is planned with a group who's called Yonina. They're one of my favorite groups. I have their CD with me. It is a young married couple. They were born in America. They made Aliyah to Israel. They sing beautiful harmonies. They sing English songs and Hebrew songs, some originals, some cover songs. They're going to be singing a number of songs that that will be familiar to you. They have these beautiful harmonies that are also very simple to sing along to, so people can try to sing along with them. By the way, the boy's name is Yoni and the girl's name is Nina. So they're Yonina. Nina is going to be leading our women's Hallel on Rosh Chodesh Sivan, which will be on a Sunday in a few weeks. So you should check them out together on Lag BaOmer, but you'll get to hear her leading, especially for the women, for Rosh Chodesh Sivan. And they have a message for us. They are our special guests visiting from Israel, pre-recorded because they have a baby in the house and it's about 3 o'clock in the morning. But let's hear from them now.
Hi, Bethaphala. We're Yonina, and we're
really excited to meet you all on.
Hi, Bethaphala. We're Yonina, and we're
really excited to meet you all on
Lag BaOmer, virtually, of course. And yeah, in case you guys are new to our music, here's one of our songs.
See you soon.
So yeah, you can check out more of our music on this link, and see you guys soon.
Wow, nice. Good stuff.
Pretty neat. How about that? Thank you to Sherry Brownstein for procuring that video for us. They were excited to do it, and they're excited to sing for us and with us. There are links all over the place where you can.
They're like celebrities in Israel.
Yeah, they're starting to make it really big.
If you watch just a few of their videos, you'll see why. They're so endearing. Just watching them look at each other when they're singing, it's really beautiful.
Let me just put in a plug for Beth Tefillah. Beth Tefillah, is having Spotlight this year virtually. And we've gotten an incredible response to it from people making reservations to watch and participate online, and from the contributions. We had been concerned that our givers wouldn't be giving in this Corona time. They're coming through tremendously. And I just want you to know, the entertainment is going to be something really, really special. I'm telling you, you're going to be surprised, and I have every reason to believe you're going to love it. So sign up. It's worth it. And, well, I can't say it helped pay our salaries, but it does help give children a Jewish education. And I guess that's almost as important as our salaries.
Rabbi Yogev.
Yes, Rabbi Posner.
The people need to know.
Okay.
What is the answer to our trivia question?
We had a 9, we had a 12. Rabbi Wecker guessed 18. Anybody see his videos this week? It was really funny.
Excuse me, everybody should know that this week the congregation signed a new long-term contract with Rabbi Wecker. And we are all just absolutely thrilled.
I didn't hear anyone else sound happy about that at all.
Oh, come on.
Let's see some claps, everybody.
Please.
All the people are clapping.
So the answer is...
And we're excited to announce that for Spotlight this year, now that we signed Rabbi Wecker, he's going to be juggling. That's our special entertainment. No. Someone else. Okay, that was a joke, just to make sure people know.
All right, so the answer is 7. 7. If you guessed 7, you are correct. Think about it. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot is 2. That's 4. Pesach is 2. That's 6. And Shavuot is 7. These are the days.
All right, folks, before we get to our after party, and by the way, we've got a really, really funny clip that we're going to be showing in there. We're going to talk a little bit about, in that after party, about some of the challenges that people may be having with Zoom. We want to thank you all for joining us. I want to give everyone an opportunity for a Torah takeaway or a closing thought. Rabbi Wahlberg?
Yes, I want to read to you something that I received that really best expresses how most all of us feel these days. I don't know which Yom Tov it is. We're walking around in slippers like it's Tisha B'Av. We're wearing masks like it's Purim. We're trembling like it's Rosh Hashanah. We're hungry like it's Yom Kippur. We're only allowed to eat outside like it's Sukkot. We're sitting by the window like it's Hanukkah. We're eating fruits like it's Tu B'Shvat. Everyone is walking around with cleaning wipes like it's Erev Pesach. And we're eating meals with our families. And we're sleeping until noon like it's Shabbos. So what holiday is this? Because I'm ready to make Havdalah now.
That's pretty awesome.
That's great. That's really awesome. Rabbi Yogev?
Just like to continue the discussion on Lag BaOmer and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi Wahlberg said this in passing at one of our gatherings. He mentioned 2 books that were written in quarantine. One of them was the Zohar. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, according to tradition, lived in a cave for 13 years, and him and his son. And that's, according to tradition, that's where they developed a lot of the secrets of the Torah. I think that's a powerful message that from within the quarantine, you can come out with amazing blessings and good. And in our parsha, we have another type of quarantine, which is the high priest. He's quarantined, but that's for another purpose. It's to help him focus on his service of God. So people oftentimes focus on the negative side, where we're far away from this, that's not going right. But there's these different models of positive outcomes that can come to help you focus and reflect more on your life. In addition, it can offer opportunities to grow and reveal great light, like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai did to the world. So it's worth taking advantage of those if you can, those opportunities.
Beautiful. So my closing thought, Torah takeaway is about Pesach Sheni. We oftentimes talk about it as second chances, but I'm thinking about it in terms of yearning. The people who realized that they were going to miss out on Pesach and how incredibly disappointed they were. And I don't know if there was a group of people so disappointed on missing out of Pesach over our history. Well, I'm sure there were many, come to think of it, but in recent times, as everyone who felt that they wanted to celebrate Pesach in ways that maybe they weren't able to. So I'm thinking about the yearning, and one of the beautiful things, like Rabbi Yogev mentioned, good things can come of this. One of the beautiful things that I think can come is people's real desire, like to be together and get back together and get back to shul together, get back to families together. And God willing, we should just take that with us and keep thinking about it. Keep missing it, keep yearning for it, and remember when it comes back how grateful we really should be, not taking any of that for granted. So we're so thrilled that you all joined us again this 3rd episode of Mezoomin. We will be back next week, same time, same place, from our living rooms to yours. And for those staying on I'm trying out some different lines. Like
great lines, just so smooth.
You like that? You like that one?
Yeah, it's like
on WBT radio, right? For those who want to stay with us, we've got an after party going on Zoom. So we're going to stop recording for Facebook Live, but if you want to stay with us, join with us. And you never know what you get in the BT after party. Last week we got a surprise duet performance from Rabbi Yogev and his father. We'll see what we have in store this week. Take care, everyone. Shabbat shalom.
It's 8:45, so it's been an hour and 15 minutes.
All right, welcome everyone. You're all unmuted.
So I'm going to leave the meeting here.
Where's Bobby K?
He's
Right here.
Is Stanley Amernick still on?
Hello from
Where's
Florida.
she?
I saw Stanley.